Hello, Seiiti Arata. Be careful with the useful idiot. They're helping the government get stronger, and that makes you, by comparison, you and your family weaker. And you need to protect yourself from this phenomenon that is growing, it's expanding every day. And today we're going to be talking about an important aspect of your personal development journey, which is understanding and protecting your personal and individual freedoms in the face of this state expansion. Let me give an example to demonstrate the growth of the state. So you can see that in the past, cameras filming everywhere people with facial recognition didn't exist. But nowadays, they're everywhere. It's much easier with that technology to control people. And the camera is just one example. We could spend hours here talking about various examples of how the state uses technology and also culture, the legislative power, the judiciary power, to increase its dominance. This is happening in all countries, and that's why I want to make it very clear, I'm not criticizing country A or country B, or political party A or political party B or C. This is a phenomenon that has been documented for more than half a century by Bertrand de Jouvenel. I'll leave the link here. And as governments grow and become more powerful, they often limit the freedom of local communities and individuals. This often happens because people want, at the request of the citizens themselves. Because it's very normal, right? We ask for more freedom, more education, more equality, more benefits. And that will be offered by the state. And despite these requests usually having very good intentions, they can accidentally lead to a larger and more controlling government. So the first enemy here is the useful idiot. I don't know if you heard that expression before. Some people get a bit angry when they hear the expression because they know this word idiot as an insult, like an offense, as like calling somebody stupid. But did you know that the word idiot actually means something very different? It's perfectly acceptable to use the word idiot in this context of our conversation. The word idiot comes from the Greek idiōtēs, and it was a person who was not involved in politics and political life. So in Athens, the idiōtēs was somebody who didn't participate in the direct democracy. And today, idiot began to mean somebody who is uneducated, unqualified, and then later became a word for foolish people, stupid people. That's why you might think that it's kind of a swear word, but originally an idiot was just somebody who was not involved in the politics. Now let's add useful. The useful idiot is somebody who supports a big cause, but they don't really understand what are the consequences of what they're supporting. They believe they're helping, but they might be helping a cause that they even don't agree with without knowing. So that makes these people who are really in charge to use the useful idiot. So a useful idiot is somebody who supports a political idea or a group without fully understanding what it means or what will happen because of that. And they are useful because their support will help the cause that they believe, but they don't really understand about the politics involved. Now this connects to what we were talking about before, about the governments becoming more and more powerful. And once again, I want to make it really clear, I am not criticizing the current government or the past government or the future government. My comment here is in theory, it's non-partisan. I'm just sharing you the theories of a pretty interesting book by Bertrand de Jouvenel, which I'll repeat, I'll put the link here somewhere. So if you want, you can read the original. And as the government grows, it often gains the support of well-intentioned people who in their heart, they really believe with more laws, more rules, we will solve the problems of society. And this can push for things that seem good, but stricter laws will be prohibiting people from doing this or doing that. Let's get one example about legislation against hate speech. Well, at a first glance, it looks good, right? Because, well, nobody likes hate. Now, the problem is that we're not thinking about the consequences. Who will be defining what is hate? Who's going to be judging that? Could somebody use the apparatus of the government to capture this policy and then persecute people and limit their freedom in an unfair way? In this way, supporters can be useful idiots. And what I'm saying with this, with all respect, cordiality, is that not that these people are stupid, not at all. But certainly there are people who have not devoted the amount of hours that are necessary to examine the legal implications, the political implications. They see the good part of a law, but they don't understand also what we pay for that, the cost of it. Of course, it doesn't mean that every single government initiative is bad. There are many laws and programs that have improved our lives and made our lives much more fair and just. So we also have to be thinking about the value of freedom. It's both sides, right? Juvenal pointed out that as the state grows, it becomes stronger, this often comes at the expense of valuable things. For example, the important role that local communities have and the individual autonomy. As we have more of this daddy government controlling things, we lose our ability to make our own choices. I know there is a cliche that says, but without the state, who would build roads? Well, let's just imagine an example of people organizing themselves, like a community effort to build a road. This would be a sign of a strength of community collaboration and a certain weakness of the state. And if some agents in power representing the state don't like it, they could use the legal apparatus to send some environmental authority and stop the work, saying that, well, you don't have license, you don't have authorization, you don't have a permit, this is violating these regulations. So that would be the state of stopping that private initiative. That's just a theoretical example, right? Some useful idiots might even applaud that repression. Do you understand how what we're talking about here has a direct impact in your life? The theme is the danger of the useful idiots and excessive intrusion of the state in the private life, but we're not just talking about rebuilding roads or bridges. We're talking about everything in our daily lives. Less privacy, more surveillance, more risks of legal implications. It might seem that you're constantly at risk of violating a rule that you don't even know that the rule exists. That could be pretty concerning. But you don't have to be watching all of that in fear. You can act, you can do something. There are steps that you can take in your personal development journey to protect yourself, to maintain your autonomy. One key thing is to strengthen your ties with your local community, with your family, because these local and personal connections can make a big difference. The worst thing you can do is to become an isolated person. Only you and the computer, without friends, without real kinship ties. The more isolated you are, the more vulnerable you become, and, well, then it's logical, whenever you need support, you're going to go for daddy state. Because there is nobody in your life that you can trust. Makes sense, right? So, strengthen your relationships. Second idea, don't pick fights for no reason, especially on social networks. Because, when you're trying to study, you have to be discreet. Don't go looking for trouble if you're not prepared to fight. It makes logic, right? One thing that I always say, the reason I'm saying is that I always say, make conscious choices. But to be conscious, well, you need to have information, you need to study. And to study, you have to at least have the right to ask questions. But let's make an exercise in creativity. Let's just use a rhetorical argument. In other words, with rhetoric, I say, what I'm going to say is not a fact. It is just an imaginary scenario, just creativity. So imagine a hypothetical tyrannical society. They could transform your valid curiosity and concerns and questions as fake news or conspiracy theories. They would do that, in theory, to keep control of the narrative. And they would also have some useful idiots, people who blindly support the official narrative without critical thinking, to be repressing any type of opposition and silence anybody who asks a question. And when the government or other people, agents, who are in power in an abusive way, trying to silence any dissent by labeling any question as fake news or conspiracy theories, stay calm. Because I know your ego will want to fight, will want to respond immediately to prove them wrong and show how actually it's different and so on. But oftentimes it's not a good idea to be picking fights with useful idiots, because you are under the risk of being crushed, sued. You can lose your financial assets, your bank account can be frozen, you can be fined, you can be canceled, you can have your reputation destroyed, you can go to jail, or even worse. So the danger with the useful idiots is that they often have much difficulty thinking critically because they have been indoctrinated. They can be defensive, they can become even aggressive if you challenge their beliefs. In some cases, they could even try to cause trouble in your life by accusing you of being an enemy of the state, that you're dangerous, or that you were offensive, that you hurt their feelings, just because you are asking questions, and then you can be sued. In the worst case scenario, they might even try to involve the authorities reporting that you did something wrong. And again, in an imaginary scenario, if there is an authoritarian regime, they could be very happy to use all of that as a reason and as an excuse to persecute you. So what would be the smart way to deal with all of this? Please be smart, be strategic in how you express yourself, choose your battles carefully. If you're around people you don't really trust, maybe it's best to keep your thoughts, the most critical ones, to yourself. Keep your thoughts to the people you know who are on the same page. Friends, family members, community members, or groups who are sharing the same values as you of freedoms and freedom of expression, being able to ask questions. I know that some people say, I don't agree with that because, how do they say? Evil wins because the good ones remain silent. I know there's something like that. Okay, so do you really want to go out yelling at people, picking fights? Well, the choice is yours. The life is yours. So just be clear that you understand what are the possible consequences of what you're doing, that you can be persecuted later. And then if that happens, remember it was your choice. And then you will reduce your level of regret. I'm not saying you have to be a coward and be silent all the time. There are many ways you can do something for positive change. There are the right ways, the right times for you to communicate. Don't paint the target on your back for nothing. Focus on educating yourself, educating others, supporting organizations that defend civil liberties. Participate in local initiatives that strengthen your community's autonomy. If you do not agree with what's happening, if you don't want to finance the system, you can use Bitcoin, which is a way you can remove the money out of the system. The key is to be smart and pragmatic. Don't go picking unnecessary fights around there, whether with useful idiots or even worse, with people who have much more power than you. Instead of that, build your knowledge, your networks, your resilience, and in that way you're going to be in a much better, stronger position to defend your freedoms, your values, and help other people do the same. And one tool, again, that can be quite useful in this area is Bitcoin. I know some people might be thinking, oh, that's a scam. Well, what's the relationship of that? What does digital currency have to do with personal freedom? But in that case, it's a long story. Please take a look at the Money Arata series. There are many episodes that explain all of that. And once you understand what is Bitcoin, how it works, it will make, hopefully, a lot of sense. It can make sense to you. Now, think about this. Just a question. How can the useful idiots or the government control your life? With money. With the traditional, the currency that we have right now, there is a lot of power that is not in your hands. Do you agree with me? Anybody can sue you, and a judge can freeze your bank accounts very quickly. It's very easy to be monitoring every single transaction that you do, everything is digital, and then forge something against you. But Bitcoin is different. When you have a Bitcoin, what people call self-custody, no attacker can abuse their power against you. And this can be a useful and a powerful tool to preserve your financial freedom, even if a few bad-intentioned individuals try to abuse their power to restrict your access to traditional banking services or impose controls on how you can spend your money. Your Bitcoin remains yours, as long as you keep control of your private keys. Yes, that's very important. With power comes responsibility. If you lose your private keys, if you don't protect them properly, your Bitcoin can disappear forever. So that's why I invite you to study about Bitcoin. You can take a look at arata.se/diamond hands. And by understanding Bitcoin, you're creating greater financial freedom for yourself that will make it much harder for bad agents or anybody else to control your life. In a world where financial surveillance and restrictions are becoming much more common, this can make a big difference. And basically, I just hope it helps your life. Bye.